Okay. Okay. Bodadar, thank you for attending the planning committee meeting today on the 13th of July, and I'll start with apologies, if I may.
Albert Williams.
Albert Williams.
Okay, I'll bring in officers now just to ring out the process for declaring any interest today. Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch, Chair. Bore da. Good morning, everybody. This is just the legal officer would advise in relation to declarations of interest. Members will be aware of the requirement under the Council's Code of Conduct to declare any personal or prejudicial interest in respect of any business to be considered at today's meeting. Such interest should be declared now or as soon as the councillor affected becomes aware that they have a personal or prejudicial interest in today's business.
Okay.
All members declaring an interest are required to state clearly what the interest is and to advise whether it is a personal interest or a personal and prejudicial interest as defined in the Code of Conduct. Any member declaring a prejudicial interest is required to leave the chamber for the duration of the business and can take no part in the proceedings. Members with a personal interest only may take part in the debate and any vote. If a personal or personal and prejudicial interest is declared today that has not previously been disclosed and recorded, the council concerned will be required to complete and sign a declaration of interest form, which is available from the committee support staff here today. Thank you, Chair.
Diolch yn fawr. Anyone like to declare an interest? Councillor Parry.
Yes.
Interest on item 9. My stepson lives next door.
Diolch yn fawr.
And Councillor Young, I've got 2 items. Okay, I did have my hand up before. Sorry.
Bring it in there, no problem.
Yeah, just to say that Councillor Brian Blakely, I know he's logged on, but he's popped out to the school to collect a sick grandchild. Plus, on item number 7, 45 2022 0226, the early learners, I know the owner, plus my next door neighbour is an assistant at the nursery. So I think it's prejudicial and personal. And I did send an email to legal, but I didn't get a reply. Okay. So, yeah.
Okay, that's noted, and we'll you can leave the meeting for that one if you so wish.
Yeah, fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'd like to declare an interest on agenda item number 5. It's a personal interest only. A company that I deal with, customers, A&M Evans, sorry, of Glanwern, customers of the company that I work for. I'm also the owner of the Golden Lion pub in LLANDYRNOG. Although I don't run the pub, I've got a long-term tenant who runs the business of the pub. And I'm also a member of the Friends of the New LLANDYRNOG community shop, which I hope to start a community shop soon in the village. Thank you.
Okay, diolch yn fawr. Anyone else? Okay, I'll move on now to the minutes, and I'll assume you've all read them, but I'll go through them first for accuracy, and then I'll go for matters arising. So, page 1, page 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, anyone like to raise any points on the minutes, please? Do you want to? Councillor Tomlin, please.
Chair, I've already expressed a couple of points on page 16, insofar as the wording. Do you want me to tell you those now, or just let you have those? Noted. Okay. Yeah, thank you if they've been noted. Thank you.
Diolch yn fawr, thank you.
I'd just like to propose a correct, Chair.
Okay, proposer, any? All happy? Okay. And I'll just touch now on urgent matters, which the chair confirmed there is none. And then I'll go on to matters arising from those minutes, if there is any for any members. Page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Anyone with any matters arising, or are we all happy? Okay. All right, I'll move on now to item 5 for the applications today, and we have some public speakers. And I will start for item 5, which is page 19, code 182021 1260 PF. And the location is the land in LLANDYRNOG at MAES Clan, Denbigh. Proposal is erection of 40 dwellings, construction of new vehicle access, landscaping and associated works. The local member, Councillor Parry, officer's recommendation is to grant. And I will ask if we have the Mr. Morris.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Morris, if you'd, once you start talking, we will time you for 3 minutes and we'll stop you on 3 minutes. And thank you very much for attending today. So start when you're ready, please, Mr. Morris.
Chairman and members of the Planning Committee, this development of 40 houses would represent the largest single development in the history of the village, adding 10% to housing stock, inhabitants and resultant traffic in the area, even more in the centre of the village itself. I know some of you viewed the site last Friday, but please bear in mind that on that day, the B5429 for the village was closed for road repairs, so you would not have seen a true representation of the traffic going through the village and up to Llanguivan through Clutton Terrace. This is not about anti-houses, but feel that the use of agricultural land for development should first and foremost meet the needs of local people and take account of existing local village inhabitants. The current site layout bears little resemblance to what was proposed when outline planning was granted. Gone is the green frontage in the development, which would have kept it in line with MAES Llan and with only one site entrance. Gone are the proposed bungalows to accommodate those with mobility issues or that might have a need to downsize when larger properties are released. Gone is the back-to-back gardens with MAES Llan, or at least a greater space between new houses and their boundaries. Instead, we have 8 Llanguivan Road front properties, which have in total 22 individual car parking entrances straight onto the road and 24 parking bays. Only one has a turning point, despite being a planning requirement for one adjoining MAES Llan property in the past. One of the properties will have very limited visibility due to the hedge and reduced road width. The curve in this road also reduces the visibility splay as you drive from Llanguivan. The additional information document I've received states rear of 14 MAES Llan to side gable of plot 37 with side landing window facing MAES Llan is only 12.4 metres away, less than 41 feet and the length of a school bus. Number 13 MAES Llan is only 12 metres. Any window looking down at this close proximity is not acceptable. Planning officer states this is below the 15-metre guidance, so surely it should not be acceptable. We are told that the building density of this site is apparently not an issue, so why push them in by the boundary of existing houses? Channeling surface water from the development through an attenuation pond to a gully in the main road that has existing flooding issues into a pipe that discharges into a watercourse that NRW maps show as a high risk of flood area is not acceptable. For NRW and DCC flood risk management not to make a comment even at this stage is concerning. On-site disposal of this should be planned for by the use of attenuation crates and not passed as someone else's problem. We object to this plan in its current format. Thank you.
Okay, Jochen, thanks for that. And can I call Miss Morgan now, please? Jochen.
Benw i di Helen Morgan.
My name is Helen Morgan. I'm brought up in Britain. I've been fortunate to be able to work locally, working with Jones Brothers, and be able to use my Welsh daily at work. Jones Brothers is a long-established company and is local, creating huge employments for the area. At the moment, we employ over 500 people, with 80% of them coming from North Wales. We contribute where we can to the local community, with an example of sponsorship for sports clubs, equipment for schools, agricultural shows at Denbigh Flint, and most recently the Eisteddfod yr Urdd held in Denbigh. The location of the site is appropriate for new developments. It's also sustainable and fits well into the local street scene. At the moment, it lies within the local development plan of Denbighshire, so the principle of housing on the site is considered to be acceptable. LLANDYRNOG has been identified as a village within the growth strategy for the local development plan. It would therefore meet the local housing needs for the area. The site has planning permission, which exists for 40 houses. This development offers the same number of houses, and the site has been revised to make sure that the development meets with what's needed for the legislation, the SAB legislation and highway. We offer a mixture of 2, 3 and 4 bed houses, individual houses and detached and semi-detached. And after discussion with the council, the mixture of houses has had full support from policy department, planning department of Denbighshire County Council. Denbighshire Highways agreed that development wasn't going to have an effect on an acceptable effect on the local highways in terms of the ability, and the main access complies with standards of visibility in TAN 18. There's no objections from any of the statutory consultees. Development represents a positive contribution towards the sustainable development within Denbighshire and gives contribution to the housing need in the area, including 4 affordable houses. Development is in line with key principles of planning policy RHYLT, including local policies that have been adopted in the LDP. So the balance of planning falls firmly in favour with this development, and we ask for members of the planning committee to decide to approve planning, which is also recommended by the planning officer.
Jochenbouw, thank you very much. Okay, I'm just going to bring in officers now, just confirm who's here from a professional officer's point of view. Jochenbouw.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, we've just got to explain that if members today have any sort of technical questions and queries, we have additional officers with us within the chamber to help answer those. We've got Mike Parker, our highway engineer, with us today on the top table, and Wayne Hope, who deals with flood risk and drainage issues. We've also got Denise Shaw, who's the case officer on a number of applications, and online as well. Unfortunately, Paul Griffin can't be with us today. We're thinking he might have COVID and he's not feeling particularly good. So I don't think he's on screen, but we do have Sarah Stubbs, who is the case officer on this application as well. So just wanted to explain that there's a few technical officers here to assist. We also just need to highlight very quickly that, as members will know, when we finish our main agenda reports, we have to do those a few weeks before planning committee to enable them to be printed and translated. We therefore then produce our late sheets, which are circulated the night before, which hopefully members have received. There's quite a lot of information on those late sheets today, so we want to give you ample opportunity to read through those. Very occasionally, we also receive what we call very late representations that are actually submitted after we've done our late sheets. And that happened on this particular application. So if members would allow me, the representation we received from from Dr. James Davis MP came in quite late, so it couldn't be put on the late representation sheet. So if that's okay, Chair, I'll just read that out as part of this item before we go into the site visit details. So Dr. James Davis MP, his letter is as follows. I'm writing with respect to the above planning application, which I'm aware is due to be considered by committee this Wednesday. Having visited the site and spoken to local residents, there is a reluctant appreciation that the land concerned has been designated for residential development in the LDP. However, there are a number of aspects to what is currently proposed which raise significant concerns. The next paragraph is entitled Density. I am advised that the indicative allocation for the site within the local development plan is for around 25 dwellings, where while there is an understanding of the need for new homes for local people, it's felt that 40 is excessive for a small village in an area of outstanding natural beauty. The next paragraph is entitled Road Safety and Layout. The current plan for properties abutting the unlit main road would appear to pose a risk to road users, including those who would be entering and exiting their drives, even if the built-up area speed limit is extended out beyond the development. Furthermore, the outer development boundary is situated at a point where there is a bend in the road, naturally impacting visibility. I'm informed that a resident who lives on the corner of my plan has previously been refused the creation of a simple driveway access onto the same road on the basis of road safety. I'm told that the Highways Department advised it would be necessary for the applicant to provide a driveway sufficiently large to allow a turning circle, thus reducing the need for vehicles to reverse onto the same main road. And then there is a reference planning application 18-2010-0103. Residents along Mice Land feel that the layout of the new development directly behind their homes should be altered to increase the distance between their properties and the new build dwellings. They believe that a minimum of an additional 2 meters is required for policy parameters to be adequately met. They've also expressed concerns due to the inclusion of a window in the upstairs hallway of their new homes, which they feel will significantly reduce their privacy. There is also worry that the impact of another 100 or so cars plus service vehicles and visitors has not been adequately accounted for when determining traffic management and road safety, both in terms of the access road to the new estate road and the village infrastructure in general. Next paragraph is entitled Drainage. Residents are concerned that a drainage survey was carried out after a dry spell and feel that this may have given an inaccurate representation of the situation. I understand there are currently no detailed plans for the proposed sustainable drainage system, and that any connection to the nearby culvert would be a concern as it discharges into a stream that is highlighted by NLW as a high flood risk area. Next one, and the final one, is house type. Whilst many residents are not opposed to the principle of housing development on this site, they do feel that the type of homes being provided may not best match the needs of the local community or be in line with the LDP and Council's housing strategy. During my discussions, it was apparent that residents felt bungalows and 2 3-bed properties were needed more than the larger homes. Bungalows would provide opportunities for those with mobility issues or wishing to downsize. Similarly, 2 or 3 bedroom homes would provide those wishing to take their first step on the housing ladder with an opportunity to do so within their own village rather than being forced to relocate. Residents would be extremely grateful if their concerns could be taken into consideration to reduce the density of the development, alter the layout, reconsider the ingress and egress from the development with a particular focus on the positioning of driveways, and provide reassurances relating to the site drainage. I would be very grateful if you could take into consideration the above when making your decision on this application. I believe that the extent of the changes requested would require a refusal or deferral of decision to allow the submitted plans to be altered accordingly. That was the letter from Dr. James Davis. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you for that. And I just want to confirm that there was a site inspection panel meeting on Friday, the 8th of July. In attendance was myself, the Vice Chair, Councillor Peter Scott, local member Councillor Mervyn Parry, Councillor Terry Mendes, and LLANDYRNOG Community Council, Councillor Gwen Butler. And the reason for the site meeting was to allow the opportunity to view the site, to appreciate the issues relating to highways and the impact on adjacent residential dwellings. And I'll just ask if anyone who attended that meeting, if they'd like just to confirm any of their thoughts.
Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Peter Scott.
Thank you. Yes, I attended the site visit on that Friday, one of many on that day. Looking at the site, we had Mike Parker, who you know is present, told us about the highways, that we were worried about the 8 houses along the front going onto MAES, onto the lane there. Residents perhaps having to back out into the lane, but Mike will answer those questions after. I was concerned about the issue that we're all concerned about, which is houses 13, 14 and the new property at number 37, according to the plans, only 2.66 metres away, which is inside the advised distance of 15 metres. but the late sheets now say that the stairwell is only halfway up the gable end of 37, and I would believe if we put an opaque window or something in there, it would stop the overlooking onto the houses 13, 14. The rest of the site, we looked at where the water would go, and that seemed to be all right from my point of view. But I'll leave the rest of the committee. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. And I'll bring anyone else on the site meeting like to speak. No, I'll bring local member Councillor Mervyn Parry.
Thank you, Chair. There's been quite a lot of debate going over the years really with this application, and I think that members on the planning committee, it would be good for you to make sure that you have a good read if you haven't already done so of the late reps, because a lot of the toing and froing of the questions and certainly with Gareth Davis's letter and James Davis's letter on the road safety and the density and the type of houses have been answered in the reports that are there in front of you today. If you're not sure about them, please do ask. I'm sure that they will there. Things that have come to my concern, and I'll, Chair, if it's okay, I'd like to come back and speak after the debate, but things that have come, because I've had support for and against the application, and some of the concerns were the highways. So I'm sure Mike Parker will actually give us a bit of a lowdown on the highways. The vehicles backing in and out the side to the road and where the speed implication is going to be on that road. The visual impact from the houses, from the MAES houses and the proximity. Is anybody here from housing likely to with the housing needs? Have you got that one covered?
Yeah, I can cover that.
Okay. The closest to my stand, the type of windows that are facing there, other types of issues that we came up again was the surface water and the ascension pond, the footpaths to the rear of the site. There was debate about that one. So there's lots of work done by the officers on that one, and maybe you could touch on possibly why the site isn't the same layout as it was originally. I think that was something to do with the way the suds and the drainage was laid out on the site for the pond to be put at the back of the site. So I'll let the debate go ahead and I'll come back after, Chair.
Okay, talking about anyone else like to speak? Okay, Councillor Hilders Roberts, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of things. I just tried to register my disappointment really on the MP and the AM's letter, because I know James certainly sat on this planning committee, but I'm not sure about Gareth, but they don't really demonstrate an understanding of the paperwork and the consultation that's been undertaken. So I just want to make that point really. Just seemed like a speculative letter just on behalf of residents with no substance to me. I've sat here today and I've just been on Rightmove, and if I wanted to live in Llandyrnog as we stand, under 200,000, I've got two options. I've got one bedroom terrace at 120,000, or I've got a 3-bedroom semi ex-council house at 165, but has storage heaters, needs complete revamp. That's the market in this area at this time. I think Councillor Parry makes a good point that there's a lot of history to this site. And I think when you look at the plans, especially, there seems to be a lot of objections around the road and the 30-mile area. Obviously, we have a very experienced highways department, and Mr. Parker suggests in this paper that it is acceptable. But I look at other examples, and I'm thinking of RHYL, for example. When you come down the hill in RHYL and you turn right towards Llandyrnog, there are houses along that road facing with exactly the same sort of footprint that we've got here. So unless I'm missing something, Paul, this is a tried and tested. You know, the 30-mile area extends beyond higher up the road. So therefore, a lot of these, I think Peter Scott's comments about the window is a simple fix, rather than, you know, that being a complete refusal of planning. I think that's a simple fix that I'm sure the developers will work with. But this is already, it's in the LDP, already tried and tested. And this is a village that 2 years ago, I think, or 2.5 years ago, had 3 pubs, now has 1. Yeah, they've got a community shop project going on that they're trying to regenerate the local shop. surely the 40 houses in the LDP will enhance the offer for this village for those sort of businesses as well. So I'd like to propose that that we accept this proposal.
Okay, Jock Vow, do we have a seconder for that?
I'll second, Chair.
Okay, Jock and Vow, and I'll bring officers in now just to touch on the issues, Jock and Vow.
Thank you, Chair. I think the starting point with this one is probably to bring in Mike Parker, because I think some of the main issues are related to the highway layout. So I'll start with Mike. Wayne might want to come in on the drainage issues a bit later, and I'll just finish off in relation to the housing mix question. Thank you, Chair.
Bore da. Thank you, Councillor Hilditch. You'll put me out of a job soon. I can appreciate the local concerns regarding this development for the erection of 40 houses. The site is subject to an extant planning consent for the erection of the same number of dwellings granted in 2016. The development will have a new access to the site off Gladstone Terrace. Visibility displays will be provided in accordance with TAN 18, our visibility standards guidance document we work to. The existing 31-hour speed restriction is to be extended 40 metres beyond the development boundary towards Llangwyfan, with associated street lighting. A new footway will also be provided along the whole site frontage, linking in to the existing one on Gladstone Terrace. A significant variation to the original scheme is the off-street parking for the properties off Gladstone Terrace. Vehicles will be accessing the new driveways directly from Gladstone Terrace over the footway. This parking arrangement is not uncommon, and similar arrangements have been incorporated into other schemes in the county and is also in operation throughout the country. It's not unique. There is also a public footpath along the northern boundary of the site, which links in to by the Golden Lion pub. This is proposed to be improved to the village, and I'm trying to work on that with the White Horse, sorry, the White Horse, and that's we're trying to improve that as well with some lighting, and it'll be a fantastic link into the school, bus stops, and a community benefit in total. Taking everything into account, we consider that on highway grounds there would be no reason to refuse this application. It was brought up as well that there was a house further down that we put a condition on regarding parking and turning within the site when they wanted a new access. That was done because they had limited or no visibility to the left as they came out of their access. That was why that was put on at that time. However, the new footway is linking into that existing footway by that dwelling, and hence why we haven't asked for it on the driveways that are now being put in for the development. So that's the answer to that. I'll answer any other questions. Thank you.
I'm thinking I can bring in Wayne just to touch on the drainage issue that's been raised, please.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Chair. It's understandable that people have concerns about drainage with any new development. So speaking as the SUD's approving body, any new developments over 100 square metres requires approval from the SAB, and as such the developers submitted an application for approval. The application and the proposal meets all the requirements of the statutory standards. There is an outstanding matter that needs to be addressed, and that's the discharge of the surface water from the site, which will be attenuated, but it requires the upgrade of an existing culvert. The developer has submitted proposals to upgrade that culvert, which will be subject to, I believe, negotiations with a couple of landowners. Once that's achieved, from the SAB perspective, there's no reason why approval shouldn't be granted.
Okay, thanks for that. Can you just touch on the lagoon, which is mentioned on the drawings, because some concerns have been raised as if it's got water permanently there. Can you just touch on that, please? Just for clarification.
The principle of having a lagoon to deal with what are described as exceedance events, so that's really big rainfall events. The principle is that the lagoon remains dry at most times of the year. and therefore from a health and safety perspective, I wouldn't have any particular concerns. It's something that's been used extensively around the country. So it's not, the intention isn't that it's going to be a pond full of water that would be an issue for, you know, children playing in the area, for example.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I'll bring Paul in now just to touch on the other issues. About Paul.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think there's just another couple of issues that were raised there. Start with the simplest one first. I think Councillor Peter Scott had raised the issue around plot 37 and a window in the side elevation there. If members feel that they would like that a condition imposed to keep that window as opaque, then that's perfectly reasonable, perfectly acceptable. We can add that to the proposition to grant. The issue of housing mix, I think, was touched upon by the public speakers as well today, and clearly the scheme has been amended from its original design. One of the key elements of your main report are on page 47 and 48, where our strategic housing and planning policy officers have commented now on the revisions to the housing mix. They're completely comfortable with the mix of 2, 3, 4 bed houses on the site. There's obviously affordable dwellings being proposed as well. So I think in conclusion, Chair, just looking at all the main material considerations here and the consultees that we've involved, you've heard from Mike and Wayne, our strategic housing and policy officers. They're all particularly comfortable that on balance, this scheme is acceptable and it meets your corporate targets in relation to housing and affordable housing. If there is any other questions, Chair, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, we all happy? I'm going to go to the vote now. Oh, sorry, Councillor Mullen-James.
Thank you, Chair. Very simple question, really, from Mike, and I know that you covered it really, really well for everything that you were asked to do. Just one thing: do the footpaths make safe routes to school, please?
Yeah, very good point. That there's a footway that links into Gladstone Terrace, which does actually end as you go down further into the village, and you then have to walk onto the road without a footpath. However, the proposals are to improve the public right of way into a surfaced footpath with lighting as well. We're working towards that as part of our highway legal agreement, and that will be a massively improved link, and that would then link into the school and the pub and the bus stops as well. So there would be a safe link from the development into the village. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Paddy, would you like to come back?
Thank you, Chair. I think we've had a reasonable debate on it. I mean, there's a few things that maybe I haven't touched on, but there was a few requests on mobility and disability movements from the site. And I think somewhere in there, there's a condition that's been put on. I think it might have been condition 14, I think, but just check me if I'm wrong, about putting some work doing outside of the sites on things like drop curbs and things like that to make it easy to come from the site into the area. Again, the footpath to the north of the site, which links off, it's not a footpath, the footpath goes across the site. It's part of the turn-up walk, which is one of the walks we've got from Llandyrnog. It's an important and well-used path. And that path goes at the back of this site into the village, behind the churchyard and into where the White Horse was. And that's there's a proposal to improve that site there, and I have asked Mike maybe if it can be made lighter, or whether we can have some low impact lights or something on that for children to go walk, because that's the way they will go for the site into school. So I'm pleased that the work is getting done on the front, because there was concerns about the highways from residents. I think those have been answered, and they won't please everybody with this. And we won't please everybody from Iceland either, because always when there's a development of housing going next door to you, people aren't happy. You know, they see the Clydyn range from where they are now, and they might not be able to see them quite as well. But as we all know, you don't buy the view with the house. It's very unfortunate, but that's where we go with that one. You know, that, and I think I support what Councillor Hildrich Roberts said about the, you know, the houses will probably give support to the community shop if that gets going. There is also from this site, if it goes ahead, a commuted sum that will be donated to improving the open spaces in the village, and that community sum is in the figure of around about 50,000, just under 50,000, 49,898, which can be used for things like improving the open spaces. And I'm pleased with the housing needs that have been changed, and the officers and the developers have worked very well on that to improve it. So we've got sort of a balance now, almost of a third of a third of a third between 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms and 4 bedroom houses. And with the affordable housing move from 4 2 bedrooms to 2 bedroom houses and 2 3 bedroom houses, and they're pepper potted along amongst the estate, so they're not sort of put in the corner as the sort of the social housing corner. So I'm pleased with that one. So yeah, I'm happy somebody's proposed it. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Edwards, would you like to ask a question, please?
Thank you, Chair. I have a couple of concerns about this development. My main concern is the visual amenity and lack of green space at the front. And I just want to ask what the reasoning for the change of that, because obviously it was different to the original plan. 30-mile-an-hour speed limit on a country lane is still quite fast, because obviously there's going to be far more traffic. And the computer modelling may say it's okay, but we know that the reality would be different. And I'm concerned about the effect of the character of the village.
Okay, thanks for that. I'll bring in officers on that. Mike first.
Yeah, I can appreciate the concerns. However, 30-mile-an-hour speed limits in the county of Denbighshire is not a unique thing to happen. They're everywhere in every village. I would say the road outside there is particularly quiet. People may not agree with that, but in the developments I deal with all the time, very quiet. A development of 40 houses, very low traffic movements. You know, not everyone comes out at the same time, you know, so we've assessed it. We consider it to be acceptable in highway terms. And that's the only advice we can give you, really. That's how we've assessed it. Thank you.
Paul.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, in relation to the amount of green space on the site, page 65 of your main report gives some details around the amount of community recreational open space that is to be provided on the site. And as the local member had highlighted, a commuted sum would be paid around £49,898 for any shortfall in relation to that. I think the design fundamentally has had to be changed from the original permitted scheme for 40 dwelling due to the change in legislation, predominantly around the provision of SUDs and the drainage system. So I think it is sometimes quite difficult on sites where you do need to provide a sustainable drainage system to then fully comply with the open space target. So they are providing open space on site. The shortfall will be paid by a commuted sum. Hopefully that answers the question. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, members. Okay. John would like to come in.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, just back to the speed limit, really. Will this come under the new Welsh Government residential speed limit of 20 miles an hour when it comes in?
Okay. Good point, Giacomo. Mike?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know much about that. My colleague, Ben Wilcox-Jones, would deal with something like that. And the only advice I can give you today is at the moment that hasn't come in. So I think it probably would do, but if you want to take that forward with Ben beyond this committee, then it's going to have an impact on the whole county. But irrespective of that, we consider this development to be acceptable in highway terms and not unique to Denbighshire as a county. Okay, thank you.
Thanks for that, Mike. Can we go to the vote now, please? Okay, can you just confirm how the vote will take place?
Chair.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, if the panel is does grant this, can we put that condition in that the window is
I think that's
opaque?
been acknowledged, but I'll double check that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, Roger, you can just talk us through the process, please, for the voting today.
Members, the vote today will be over Zoom and in the chamber. Members of the committee will have a prompt on Zoom once officers say clear the board. It will be on Zoom, and then only committee members can vote. In the chamber, it's the same process as usual. It's the 3 buttons in front. 1 is for, 2 abstain and 3 against, I think, if memory serves. But I'll pass it to planning officers to clear the board and everything, and then we shall tally up the numbers at the end, and the chair will let you know how the vote went.
Great, thank you very much. Yeah, it's a bit of a different process to what we were doing pre-pandemic, insofar as we've obviously got voting members within the chamber here. Just for clarity, in relation to the buttons that you've got in front of you there, if you want to grant planning permission for this development in accordance with the officer recommendation, you'll be pressing 1. If you want to refuse planning permission, contrary to officer recommendation, you'll be pressing 2. And if you want to abstain, you can press 3. So that's the voting within the chamber, 1, 2 and 3. Rodri's talked through the members via the Zoom in terms of how that voting will work. So don't press anything as yet. What we need to do within the chamber is what we always do is what's known as clear the board. So we put a screen up now which will show how people are going to vote. So it's 1 to grant, 2 to refuse, 3 to abstain. Sorry, Rodri. It's been a while. I'm getting confused myself. It's probably the heat. So if you want a grant in accordance with officer recommendation, it's 1. If you want to refuse, contrary to officer recommendation, it's 3, and it's 2 to abstain. So 1 or 3 in terms of the grant or refuse. If you don't want to vote and abstain, that's 2. Apologies, Rodri, for that. So we're now going to clear the board, if we may, Rodri. That will show you the voting screen. So if you all press your buttons now in the chamber, please, and via Zoom. Thank you.
Members on Zoom, has the poll come up for members on Zoom?
No, it hasn't, Rodri.
No.
Just end the poll on Zoom now as well and tally up the numbers.
Yeah.
No boom.
Members, on my Zoom, it's saying that nobody voted. I'm just going to redo the Zoom test to see if it works, and hopefully that will work. So bear with me 1 second. Hopefully it's came up for members again.
No.
Rodri, can I just say it has arrived, but when I say
the poll now.
submit, it doesn't go.
We've had 2
I haven't got it on my screen at all.
13-4.
Oh.
Maybe.
Now just check as well. I'm actually being invited to vote, but I don't believe I am able to vote.
Granted, that's 13-4, along with officer recommendation and 1 abstention.
Okay.
Okay.
I can vote.
I'll move on
I
to the
couldn't
next
vote because I didn't have the
item now, if that's
voting
okay,
option.
members.
Yeah, Chair, if I may, I haven't been able to vote. Nothing's come up on my screen.
And I'm the same. I had nothing, Councillor Sandilands. I had nothing come up on my screen either.
Yeah.
Na, dwi ddim wedi cael cyfle dod eisiau waith da, gadeirydd.
Like the scores are in before they got a chance to vote.
Members, I think there's a problem with Zoom at the moment because I think some of you are talking, but we can't hear you on our end.
Haven't voted.
Yeah.
1 second, I'll just
bear with us 1 second, please. Yeah, we're going to just pause the meeting to look at the technology. Okay, thank you, members. I'm going to call out the ones who are at home on Zoom, and we'll do the vote that way to make sure we get it spot on. Okay, so Councillor Blakely, please.
Sorry, Chair. Was that me?
Yes, that's you, sir.
Sorry, I didn't get it then. Yeah, I'd go for grant, Chair.
Yeah. Okay, Councillor Chard, please.
4.
Councillor Ellis, please.
Blaid.
4.
Councillor Matthews, please. Councillor Peter Prendergast, please.
For.
And Councillor Sandilands, please.
For.
Can I just clarify, I can't vote as yet because I haven't had the training. So I am attending the meetings, but I can't vote.
No problem.
Thank you.
Sixteen. So the vote is 16 and 1 abstention, so that is carried. So 16 for and 1 abstention. Jock and vote, thank you. Okay, swiftly moving on to item 6, page 71. The location is the coastal frontage at RHYL Golf Club. The proposal is development of land to form coastal defence scheme compromising of formation of flood embankments, ramps, outfall structures and rock armour, habitat enhancements and works to existing culverts and associated works. The local members are Councillor Barry Mellor and Councillor Justine Evans, and we have 1 public speaker, and I'll call Mr. Ward up now, please. Talking about. Okay, you get 3 minutes, Mr. Ward, and we'll start the count when you start speaking.
Good morning, everybody. This project, which will be largely funded by Welsh Government's Coastal Risk Management Programme, is designed to significantly reduce flood risks to approximately 550 residential and 45 non-residential properties in RHYL. This would include protection from flooding caused by rising sea levels and bigger storms that are predicted to occur over the next 100 years due to the potential effects of climate change. The existing flood defences are deteriorating. Some were built over 100 years ago, and if no work is carried out, could fail within the next 10 to 15 years.
Just stop you a second, please.
Apologies.
No, we'll start the clock again. I'll just give you a second. Just let us know when you're ready.
Yeah.
No problem. No one noticed.
Prestatyn. I do apologise. Okay.
Okay, we'll start when you start. Thank you, Mr. Ward.
Good morning. This project, which would largely be grant funded by Welsh Government's Coastal Risk Management Programme, is designed to protect over 2,000 residential and commercial properties in Prestatyn from flooding. It involves the creation of an earth embankment around RHYL Golf Course, along with access ramps, outfall structures, rock armour, landscaping and habitat enhancements. This scheme is required due to the deterioration of the existing defences, which are approaching the end of their design life. Without intervention, the existing defences are likely to fail within the next 15 years. If that were to happen, we'd see huge quantities of seawater flooding onto the golf course and then eastwards into Prestatyn. This risk is only increasing because of climate change. In terms of access, the existing public rights of way will be retained and 3 ramps are proposed at east, west and central locations. The existing track from Terfyn Petler Avenue will also be upgraded and will link to the eastern ramp. The paths and ramps will ensure accessibility for all and have been designed in consultation with the Public Rights of Way Officer and Sustrans. The council will maintain the existing promenades so that erosion and breaching are prevented for as long as possible. The proposed option for this planning application does not accelerate erosion or involve managed retreat. All statutory consultees are in general support of the scheme, but some resident objections have been raised. These mainly either relate to the eastern end of the embankment and the perceived loss of view or devaluation of properties, or they relate to concerns about overlooking or loss of privacy due to a misconception that there will be a footpath or cycleway along the crest of the bund. Responses have been published that address all of the resident objections. And it's important to note that there is no footway or cycleway along the crest of the embankment. Therefore, privacy and overlooking should not be an issue. Questions have been raised about the eastern end of the embankment and why it can't be moved onto the golf course to avoid all the properties in the eastern area. But this is not possible for 3 reasons. Tidal waters would outflank and bypass the new defence and leave a residual flood risk. The state of the existing frontline coastal defences is better at the proposed endpoints, and the dunes here will give protection to the end of the embankment, preventing sea damage. And cutting off a greater extent from the eastern end of the golf course would make it unviable for the course to be reconfigured into a smaller footprint available. However, we have listened to the concerns of residents, and the eastern end of the embankment has been realigned to pull it further away from Terravin Petler Avenue in response to the concerns there. It's important for the committee to note that there's no possible alternative scheme if permission for this scheme is refused. This is the only viable scheme for this location. I therefore hope the committee can support the application today. Diolch yn fawr.
Jock, thank you for that. I'll just let Tony take his seat and then I'll bring in local members if they wish. So local members, Councillor Barry Mellor, would you like to say anything?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Going on from what Tony has just said, this is a continuation really of the East Ward of RHYL flood defences that has been flooded over 3 times. It's quite devastating to see people taking out their houses in lifeboats and rowing boats, but this is what's happened. So this is a carry on from that. It's very much needed. The sea defences along past the golf club up towards Prestatyn are in a very poor condition. Unless something is done, then Prestatyn will be submerged within the coming years. There were, as Tony says, a couple of residents at Terravin Petler worried about the bund. That has been taken care of, as Tony Ward has said. The bund has been moved a little, and people thinking that there was going to be a path and cycle track on top, they are unfounded. It'll just be a bund similar to what's along the front coastal road at the moment. So I'm all in favour of this. Residents are more important than concrete. Let's get this done, and please save the houses from being flooded. Thanks very much.
Thank you for that, Councillor Mellor. Is Councillor Justine Evans here? No. No. Okay. I'll go to any questions off members, please. Councillor Harlan, please, jock about.
Thanks, Mark. I'd just like to ask Tony really if any of this land owned by Crown Estates, and are we paying for access?
John, just it'll be Wayne who answers.
I'm sorry.
Jock about, thank you.
Sorry, Wayne. Is this land? We've got a further development coming up as well on here, haven't we? Is it the RHYL one? Is this central RHYL as well? Yeah, that's
yeah, we can talk about central RHYL.
Yeah.
But in relation to central Prestatyn, all of the work is on the landward side of the existing defences, so Crown Estate don't have an interest.
Okay.
Okay, thanks for that. Anyone else? Okay. Councillor Tomlin, please.
Thank you. I know there were resident objections. Sorry, excuse me. Resident objections. I understand that they've been addressed. I just think it would be handy for us to be reminded what they were and how they've been addressed, because I think the residents were quite vocal. So to hear now that that has been alleviated, I'd just like to hear the backstory to that, please. Thank you.
I'll bring in officers now on that point. So any concerns which are raised, which we've dealt with, or is there still any? Yeah, jock about.
Yeah, morning, members. Yeah, I think the concern was, it certainly wasn't with the principal. I think everybody was supportive of having flood defence infrastructure there. The concern was with the proximity of the embankment to residential properties, and the concern that it would be overbearing and that it would block views, and that they would have kind of cyclists and walkers having full access along the crest of the embankments. They'd be looking straight into gardens. That has been resolved. The embankment's been realigned to push it away from properties. Also in the late sheets, we've put in separation distances between the nearest properties, and there's a significant setback between residential properties and the embankment, and in particular the ramped section in the eastern end of the embankment, which is the only section where there would be public right of access over it. Let me just check. Yeah, so that the crest of the embankment it's over 100 metres away from the nearest property. So there's not going to be any significant overlooking with that kind of separation distance. So as I said, the main impact was residential amenity, and given the separation distances, it's only a 3-metre high embankment. It's going to be grassed over. It's going to look like, you know, a nice landscape hill essentially, and with the restriction of public access, we don't think there is going to be any unacceptable impact on amenity of neighbours.
Okay, thanks for that. Any other questions in the chamber? Okay, Councillor Brian Blakely, please. Jockeying about. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Apologies for coming in late. Unfortunately, I had a bit of an emergency on with one of my grandkids at school. Had to get home. Okay, yes, I'd like to go with the officer's recommendation to grant. Going back over the last 5 years, we've had many meeting on this regarding if these defences weren't built, what would happen with NWR and Welsh Water, these defences weren't built, then the whole of RHYL could be underwater over the next 50, 60 years. The southeast ward of RHYL, the east ward of RHYL, the floodplain would no longer be the floodplain, it would be flood. So I would like to propose the officer's recommendation, Chair, that we grant. Thank you, Chair.
Jockeying about. Any seconder for that, please?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I will second.
Okay. Okay, Councillor Chard, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Are we all happy before we go to the vote? And you'll be pleased to know I'm going to call out the names on this occasion. Plan A didn't work. We'll stick with Plan B for the future. Yeah. We'll blame the Vice Chair. Thank you very much. We are. Okay. Officers.
Thank you, Chair. For the members that are inside the chamber, we'll do that vote because I think that worked okay previously. So again, just to reiterate, it's if you want to grant this in accordance with the officer recommendation, you'll be pressing 1. If you want to refuse planning permission, you'll be pressing 3. If you want to abstain, you'd be pressing 2. So 1 to grant, 3 to refuse. So for all those that are in the chamber, if we can clear the board, please, Rodri. And all vote now, please.
Okay, and now I'll call the names out for the people on Zoom. Okay, Councillor Blakely, please.
Grant.
Councillor Chard, please.
Grant.
Councillor Ellis, please.
Obliged. Grant. In favour.
Councillor Prendergast, please.
Grant.
And Councillor Sandilands, please.
Grant.
5, yeah. Okay, that's been carried. That's 18 for and none against. So that's been carried with also recommendation. Jock about.
Chair, can I just give my apologies? I'm having to leave the meeting now. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Well.
Thank you, Councillor Parry. Jock about. Thank you. Okay, I'll carry on now with item number 8, page 155, code 4520220271 PF. Location is Central RHYL Coastal Defence Scheme in RHYL. Proposal construction of coastal protection scheme incorporating new seawall, repair works and engineering operations, including protection to existing seawall, installing new concrete step revetments, raise and widen promenade, including new and amended accesses, landscaping and associated works. And we have a public speaker, and I'll call Mr. Ward now to speak, please. Jochen Vout. Okay, Mr. Ward, when you start, we'll start the clock, and thank you very much, Jochen Vout.
Okay, so this project, which would be largely grant funded by Welsh Government, is designed to significantly reduce flood risk to approximately 550 residential and 45 non-residential properties in RHYL. This would include protection from flooding caused by rising sea levels predicted over the next 100 years due to the effects of climate change. The existing flood defences are deteriorating. Some were built over 100 years ago, and if no work is carried out, could fail within the next 10 to 15 years. The scheme will protect and improve the promenade, which is a valuable tourism asset for RHYL. And it will also improve access from the promenade to the beach. There are 3 elements to the scheme. The western section from the Seaquarium to the Drift Park would consist of a new concrete step revetment with a raised and widened promenade. There would also be a new sea defence wall along the rear of the promenade and improved access to the beach via steps and a ramp. The promenade is part of National Cycle Route 5 and the Wales Coast Path and is an active travel route. The scheme will improve the route as a shared space for cyclists and pedestrians. It will make the Children's Village Wall less overbearing by widening and raising the promenade and improving the lighting along the promenade between the Seaquarium and West RHYL. The eastern section of the scheme from Splash Point to the Seaquarium and RHYL Events Arena would consist of rock scour protection to the foundations of the existing defences. Concrete repairs will be made to the existing defences where required, and 2 new access points from the promenade to the beach will be provided in the vicinity of the Pavilion Theatre. Also, there will be ecological mitigation carried out near Barkby Beach and Prestatyn, adjacent to the Gronant Dunes. This will improve grassland dune habitats in the area and provide community and recreational benefits. Subject to planning and funding approval, construction is expected to begin in early 2023 for approximately 2.5 years until 2025. And a construction environmental management plan will be produced and approved by the local planning authority prior to construction commencing. Local businesses along the promenade have been extensively consulted and recognised the need for the scheme. 2 objections have been raised, one from a resident based on proposed working hours, and one from the Seaquarium based on animal welfare concerns and the impact on their business. Responses have been published to these objections. The council has been in dialogue with the Seaquarium for some time, and we continue to engage with the Seaquarium via the statutory Party Wall Act process, where appointed representatives from the council and the Seaquarium will reach an agreement regarding the impact of the work on that business and what mitigating actions need to be taken by the council. If planning approval is deferred today, it's extremely unlikely that funding will be secured via the Welsh Government funding scheme, because schemes need to be on site before March 2023 in order to qualify for funding. Fundamentally, this scheme is essential for the future security of RHYL as a town from a tourism, business and residential perspective. I therefore ask the committee to support the application today. Jochen Vout.
Thank you very much, Jochen Vout. And I'll just bring officers in. We did have a speaker against, but they withdrew, but Paul will update us on that. Jochen Vout.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it's just to remind members to refer to the late sheets. We did have Mr. Leister down as a speaker against. We have received late representations from Leister Planning Limited on behalf of the Seaquarium of RHYL Limited, and the comments, there's 5 points that have been summarised on the late sheets for you there. So obviously Mr. Leister wasn't able to come today to speak in person, but I would imagine the majority of what he was going to say is covered in the 5 points on the late sheet. So just for fairness, we want to make sure that members are aware of those late representations. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, so if members can just refresh themselves if they need to on that point, and I'll bring in local members if they wish. So the local members are Councillor Joan Butterfield, Councillor Alan James, Councillor Justin Evans and Councillor Barry Meller. So if any of them would like to indicate would like to speak, I'll bring them in now. Councillor James, Jockovout. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm fully in agreement with this proposal. It fills the gap between the splash point end of the promenade and the promenade that has been developed over the last few years from the harbour further on up into the along the promenade into the town. So this is essential, in my view, to fill that gap to protect the town. I have been down on numerous occasions, and you can see the wall, existing wall that is crumbling underneath. I think there's an optimism of about 10 to 15 years before it crumbles. It probably is less, but I'm therefore proposing that we go with this and vote to support it. Thank you very much.
Okay, do we have a seconder, please? Okay.
Chair,
Please.
Chair, as the other ward member, you did ask, I'm sorry I didn't put my hand up. I'm still looking on this machine where it is.
We've got a second and proposed, and I'll bring it in now, Councillor Butterfield.
Thank you. Just to say that I'm in full agreement of this scheme. I think it's essential that we look forward to the future and not backwards to the seaside as it was presented years ago. It is a leap forward, and I do think that it's essential that we put these sea defences in place, or there won't be a town in the future. It's essential that we get on with them, and just applaud that we've been able to gather the money together to progress this scheme. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I'll bring in Councillor Tomlin now. Sorry, Councillor Meller, please, Jockovout.
You say me then, Chair? Sorry.
Yes, I did. Sorry, Barry.
Sorry, Chair. Yeah. Yes, a part of this will be a continuation from the east flood defences from Splash Point down towards Central RHYL. I'm all for it, all for what the officers have explained. This will be the last piece in the jigsaw along here, and I just totally, fully for it to go forward. Thanks very much.
Okay, Jockovout, and I'll bring in Councillor Tomlin now. Jockovout.
Thanks, Mark. I just, as the member for Prestatyn East Ward, I would like to make comment that I welcome and thank the ecological mitigation that's happening in Barkby Dunes in my ward. Thank you.
Okay, Jockovout, and I'll bring Councillor Harlan in now, please.
Same question to Wayne again. Sorry. Are Crown Estates involved in this project as well? Do we need to pay them for access to this particular project?
Yes, thanks for the question, Councillor. We have an arrangement with the Crown Estate currently whereby we lease the frontage there, so it'll be covered under the terms of the lease that we have with the Crown Estate. There'll be a notional payment to them, but it's quite small.
Okay, thank you for that. Are we all happy before I proceed? Okay, Councillor Mendes, please.
Yeah, I was just wondering what the sea aquarium, what issues they have with their animals. You know, obviously construction is going to disturb that. What exactly is the objection to the project?
Okay, it's on the sheet, and here's a negotiation going on. I'm just going to bring Robin in, if I may, to make sure we don't touch on anything we shouldn't do with the debate. So I know there's an ongoing party wall discussion going. So
okay, well, Mr. Chair, I'll just withdraw that question.
Okay, Jockovout, thank you for that. Thank you, Ron. We don't need that. Thank you for that. Anyone else, please? Okay, we're going to go to the count and the vote, please. Jock and vote.
Okay, thank you, Chair. For those members in the chamber today, as I'd said before, this will be, if you want a grant planning permission in accordance with the officer recommendation, press 1. If you want to refuse planning permission, it's 3, and 2 to abstain. So if we could clear the board, please, Rodri, and all vote now. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. And as before, I will call out the names of the members able to vote now who are on Zoom. So, Councillor Blakely, please.
Grant, Chair.
Councillor Charge, please.
To grant.
Councillor Ellis, please.
Hyde.
Favour.
And
Grant.
Prendergast, please. Okay, is Peter here? Okay, I'll move on if Peter's not here. Councillor Sandilands, please.
Grant.
Sorry, Chair, I couldn't get on for some reason.
Okay, Councillor Pendergrass, please.
I voted for.
How many on the Zoom? 6. 5. 17, yes. Okay, so that vote is carried 17 to 0. So along with officer recommendation, that's been granted. And I will now take a 10-minute comfort break if we're all happy with that. Jock and bow. Okay, thank you, members. I'm on item 9, page 225, code 462021, 1161 PF. The location is land off Upper Road, Denbigh, St. ASAPH. Proposal erection of 113 dwellings, construction of new access, landscaping and associated works. Local members are Councillor Martin Hogg. And we have got one public speaker who I'll call now, please. Stuart Andrew, if you can come, please. And okay, thank you. And we'll start the count when you start speaking. Jock and Vow, thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning, all. My name is Stuart Andrew. I'm the Design and Planning Director at Castle Green Homes, and we're the developer of this proposed scheme off Upper Denbigh Road in St. ASAPH. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you in support of this application for the construction of 113 homes. The site of this application has been allocated for housing by Denbighshire County Council in its current local development plan. This is the second half of a wider allocation, the first half of which is already partly developed by pure residential. Our proposals offer the full provision of affordable housing and public open space required by the Council's adopted policies. Of the 13 dwellings proposed, 10 are designated as affordable, meaning 4 1-bed, 6 2-bed and a 3-bed property will be provided to contribute to the affordable housing needs of the local area, with this mix of houses being as requested by the Council's strategic housing and policy officers. Around 2 acres of newly landscaped open space with a new equipped play area were made available to the public, and around a further acre of existing mature landscaping will be retained to enhance this space. In addition, financial contributions towards off-site affordable housing, existing public open space areas and sports facilities and primary school education facilities have been agreed with the Council's officers, with these payments totaling nearly £250,000 and to be secured by a legal agreement with the Council. During this application, we've also been made aware of the existing issue relating to flooding within an area of Upper Denbigh Road to the south of the application site. Although our application does not contribute towards this existing issue in any way, we have offered to carry out works to improve land drainage adjacent to the adopted highway in the area affected. This will offer a significant betterment to existing residents and address this issue at no cost to the Council. Your committee report mentions the impact of these proposals on St Kentigern's Hospice, but I would point out that as covered by the report, the hospice has previously written to the Council in support of this application. We've happily negotiated with the hospice for some time and set aside part of the development to create an extension to the existing hospice garden, which will benefit residents there and also provide a buffer to the allocated housing site. During this application, our proposals have been considered by all the necessary statutory consultees and council officers. Their conclusion is that the application creates no adverse impact to existing local visual and residential amenity, that matters relating to ecology being resolved to the satisfaction of the council's ecology officer, the proposed highways and drainage works are considered acceptable, and that all policy requirements are met. The report concludes that it is the recommendation of the council's officers that planning permission be granted. I hope today that you ladies and gentlemen agree with this view, that this carefully considered proposal is entirely acceptable in terms of its principles and design, that it assists in the provision of the housing commitments that the council approved within its local development plan, and that as such it would be appropriate for you to approve this planning application. Thank you very much.
Okay, Jockenbauer, thank you for that. Okay, there was a site meeting and myself and Councillor Peter Scott and local member Councillor Martin Hogg and Councillor James Elson was there, and the officers present were Denise Shaw, Development Management, and Mike Parker from Highways. Would anyone who attended that site meeting like to say a few words? Councillor Scott, Jockenbauer.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, the site visit was eye-opening, in fact, and a lot of the conversation prior to that has been as well. I think you've noted that the City Council did write in complaining about the site some time before, back in October 21, I think, with about 8 different items. But at the end of the day, looking at on the site visit, all of those items have been mitigated. The improved access to the site is going to be with displays 30 yards away, so you can see in and out of the site. Even the access to the small road to go to Springfield Stud is going to be improved as well. There's going to be a new footpath along the 525, which the City Council have been calling for years, so that's a bonus as well. I think the developers mentioned St Kentigern's Hospice. At present, they look over an open field, but they have put in an open space mitigation, so they have got a decent view from St Kentigern's Hospice. We've asked for bats and swift boxes, which they've said they would do for us. There's going to be improved crossing in front of the new site across the road. Again, something that the residents of ASAPH have been asking for. I think Mike Parker said the 30-mile-an-hour flashing sign will be moved further away up near RHYL House, or if we can get it that far away to help traffic slow down and things like that. And the win-win bonus is the land drainage with the flooding that the developer is going to do, even though it can't condition it or anything, he has promised, so everyone's heard it here now. We've been trying to get that done for years, so Chair, I'm quite happy with it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. And I'll bring in the local member, Councillor Hogg, please.
Thank you. Can you all hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I think Peter's summed up the objections well there. This started before I was actually elected to council, and I think the objections had gone via City Council. So thanks, Councillor Scott, there for just summarising that. I've sort of been involved. One objector had contacted me directly, and I'd sort of gone through the objections with officers and had some great support really from Denise Shaw, just understanding the objections and what was being done, and I did feel that the developer had met these objections quite well. It was quite nice to see their responses really on all the concerns. I think we do notice themes cropping up though in objections, not just on this application but others in terms of housing mixes, ecology, traffic, effects of traffic on local villages, and I think it would be worthwhile this planning committee providing feedback to the LDP strategy, and trying to make it easier for residents to understand these issues and how the council and developers do address them. There's always more that we can do, and a lot of these objections, I feel the requirements are being met, but the objections are often we can do better. So you know, in this particular case, I think as Councillor Peter Scott said, I'm happy that the developer has done a good job here, and it's a good development that would get my support. But yeah, can we try and get some kind of feedback from this committee back to LDP for the future really to keep improving?
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Hogg. I can make sure your comments are taken forward to the LDP group. It's a good point. We can always communicate better. And I'll just check if anyone else would like to come in on this one. Councillor Mullen James, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I think that we've got a meeting of the LDP this afternoon, so that can be taken forward there, which is good. I note from the site visits that the inspection item 5, ecological and landscaping features, including trees and hedgerow. There are some absolutely beautiful trees on this site, and I was hoping that rather than chop them down and put some new ones in, they would incorporate them into the plan. So can I have assurance on that, please?
Okay, thank you for that. Thanks for the question. I'll bring in Denise now just to touch on that point.
Yeah, on the issue of trees, they did revise the scheme to try and retain as much of the hedgerow and trees as possible, but there is going to be 3 mature trees that are going to be felled to facilitate the development. But they have provided a comprehensive landscaping and ecological management plan and planting scheme, which does include new tree and shrub planting throughout the site. So, and our ecologist is happy that we've got enough provided now with the native planting and ecological enhancer in mitigation to kind of offset the loss of those trees.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thanks for that. I'm going to bring in Mike from Highways. Some concerns were raised, so just a summary of the works and to touch on the comments of Councillor Peter Scott about the flashing sign, if you can, jog about.
Okay. Yep. I've read all the objections and can understand the local concerns regarding the site. A detailed transport assessment was provided. We've been doing a lot of work with the developer over a long time regarding this site, and we've done a lot of work incorporating what we want for the access and the improvement works. The access to the site will be in the form of a right turn lane. So when you turn into the site, there'll be an area for you to stop and turn and wait there, so it won't affect the free flow of traffic on the A525. And the moving of the street lighting and existing 30-mile-an-hour speed limit towards Trevenant. We'll be working on that, and we incorporate all of this into what we call a legal agreement called a Section 38 and 278 agreement. We have a bond off the developer, and they sign an agreement, and they give us a bond for the amount of all the works. Could be £500,000, and if they ever don't finish it as we want it, we will use their money and finish it for them. So there's no risk to the council there. So we're working on that. I've got a meeting there tomorrow regarding street lighting and things like that. So we're working all the time on these things. It's also proposed to improve the junction of the country lane on the south of the site with the A525, which leads to Reef's Plantyre, I think, and improve that junction there with crossing points to the bus stop the other side with some islands, and also put a passing place on that road as well. We have also asked for a link to the railway line to the east to future-proof any public right-of-way that goes through there. It's an informal one at the moment. And we're also asked for a footpath to be put inside the site alongside the A525 from that country lane, linking into the site access. So we save the hedges and the trees, but we get a nice link in for pedestrians and about desire lines for the for people on bikes and walking. So taking everything into account, we don't think there's anything that that could refuse this application on highway grounds. Thank you.
I might have missed it. Did you mention the flashing sign?
Yeah, we look at all these things. We don't obviously mention these things in planning, but as part of the legal agreement and the highway works, we look at everything like this and get detailed drawings. So that will be looked at.
Okay, thanks, Anne. It was raised and it's appreciated, Jock. I can just bring in Wayne just to talk on the drainage. So we know they can't be conditioned, but if you can just talk us through the process because it's important for this application. Jock.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, developments over 100 square metres require SUDS approval from the SUDS approving body, which is myself essentially. And yes, the developer submitted a sub application, which is fine. And as part of that application is included proposals for some improvements to the existing land drainage, which has been a long-standing concern regarding flooding of the highway and properties downstream. So it's the surface water aspects of the developments are dealt with through it's separate legislation, but it's all in hand.
Okay. Thanks for that. Thanks, officers. Very much appreciated. I'm going to bring in I'm going to bring in Gareth Sandilands, who's had his hand up a while. Please first, Jochen, Gareth.
Yeah. I'm just reading through the report. I noticed the lack of response from Natural Resources Wales. Now, this has come up a few times when Natural Resources Wales haven't even responded, or indeed have only put a simple line. I'm really worried about this body. They're an important body who comment and inspect all sites and all services. What's our relationship like? And we need to really get a better response from them in the future for all applications. I'm disappointed with this because they originally replied with a 1-sentence reply summary, and now they've not even bothered to respond. This is a lot of houses, and I think it's they are the body representing Wales, and I think they should get their act together in the quality of their responses. Thank you. And the other question was, sorry, while I'm at it, the communication plan with nearby residents and local representation. This should be going on an ongoing basis. We've got a similar development with the same developer in my ward. And I think key communication with all the residents and the local representatives on an ongoing basis about the detail. It's the level of detail now, the attention to detail on a day-to-day basis. So we get it right first time. It's a big development, and I think we should put these emphases on it. Thank you.
Thanks for your questions and your concerns, which we couldn't disagree with. I'll bring in Denise because I think there has been a late rep from the body you mentioned, but I'll bring in Denise just to confirm your points now. Jochen.
Yeah, just in response to the issue of Natural Resources Wales, we have consulted with them throughout the application. They'd asked for Great Crested newt surveys to be carried out. With newt surveys, there's a really small window of opportunity that you can do them. It's basically between March and May. So the applicant did carry them out, and we reconsulted with NRW. But again, with committee deadlines, we finished the report 3 weeks ago, so we hadn't had their response. We have subsequently had a response from them, which is on the late sheets. And they have confirmed they're happy with the newt surveys, but they're proposing some conditions as a precautionary approach to make sure that newts don't travel onto the site. So yeah, there's 2 conditions NRW are proposing.
Okay, thanks for that. I'll bring in Paul now. Just about Paul.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, just in relation to Councillor Sandilands there, I think generally our relationship with Natural Resources Wales is good. I think that officers, certainly on the development management side, do liaise quite regularly with Natural Resources Wales. Like a lot of organisations, clearly they can be stretched at times in terms of officer resources, etc. But we do communicate regularly with them. I think on the final point that you've made there as well, which I think is a really good and valid one, and it's in relation to obviously considerate developers and how developers within our communities operate. I think we've got to say in this instance that working with this particular applicant, they've committed to having extensive sort of communications and links with the community. I think that's really important. It's something that we should really be pushing for all the time on this, because I think that, you know, when developers come into our communities and develop houses, it's often the case that existing residents feel that they're not being heard, but also that they've got no one to sort of complain to and ask questions of during the course of development. So I think it's refreshing that this particular developer is seemingly doing that in this instance. So thanks for that question, Councillor Sandilands.
Thank you. Thanks for the response.
Okay, Councillor Harlan, please.
Thanks, Mark. I'm really very disappointed that 3 mature trees are being taken out in this project. I was just wondering really what's going to happen to that wood that might be hundreds of years old, and are we really valuing trees which store up carbon at the level necessary in the current climate?
Okay, thanks for that. I'll bring in Denise now. Denise.
Yeah, so with the trees, they have done a tree survey of all the trees on site, and the 3 that have been demolished, felled, 2 are category C trees, which means although they look good, that they're failing. One of them, the largest oak on site, is one of the category C trees, so it would probably have to be felled in health and safety grounds anyway. I think as a developer, they have tried their best to retain as much as possible. They did reduce the scheme. You know, they knocked out 11 houses to retain as much of the hedgerow and trees as possible. And yeah, discussions with our ecologists have been taking place to use that felled wood to create deadwood habitat within the site, within the informal open space, and it's something the developer's open to.
Would like to come back on that?
So it's Yes, please. So it's going to be retained within the site then, the wood?
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
be chopped up for logs?
No, no, I think the intention is to retain it and create some habitat within the site with that dead wood.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that, Jock and Val. I'm going to bring the local member back in, Councillor Hogg, please.
Thank you. Just a quick question on the, there's an area of green space being donated, I believe, to the St Kentigern's Hospice, which will be landscaped. Can you just clarify, will that be done up front to help kind of shield from the ongoing works as the development is done? Or is this, is there no kind of, is there no, we've not decided when this should happen?
Okay, I'll just bring Paul in. I'm sure the developer will work with us, but I'll bring in Paul just to confirm.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in relation to a development of this size, the question might be, you know, putting in any sort of planting or any landscaping that could be affected during the development process might not be feasible. But I think, yeah, we will certainly discuss with the developer in relation to the timing of the delivery of that open space and how it works. But I guess that it might be through sort of construction, traffic and various other things. It might be better to sort of try and make sure that that's done and it's pristine at the most appropriate time within the development to make sure that they don't have to go back in and do certain things again. But I think if you like, Councillor Hogg, I can take that up with Castle Green, and we can have that discussion with yourself in relation to timing.
Yeah, I think in this particular instance, it's because that I think that hospice is it's a convalescence home, isn't it? It's sort of a place where people spend their last days. So, you know, if anything can be done to you know, avoid the view of a building site, I'm sure it would be much appreciated.
Okay, thanks for that. And just for the minutes, there's a commitment of officers, the local member and developer to communicate before work starts, and I'm getting positive nods from the developer who's in the chamber, so that's good. Thanks for raising. And I'm going to take Councillor Hilders Roberts now, I think wanted to come in, and then I'm going to finish it there. Jock and Val.
Diolch, Chair. I just want to highlight a few things. I mean, obviously there's a community sum towards primary school education, which is nearly 130,000, which will be really well received, I think, in this area as well, of 70 odd K for green spaces as well. So I think that just needs to be highlighted. Again, I've been on Rightmove, and there's only 2 houses under 200K into DYSERTH. And then I think the next one is Trebnan, is an old chapel there. So the limited option, because instantly this application is going to give 11 affordable homes to the city of St DYSERTH, not the village. So if you compare that to the scale of LLANDYRNOG with having 2 houses in DYSERTH, it's a big challenge. And I think we've already had a compliment on Denise's work on this case, which I think is clear to see by the list of war and peace of conditions that they've had to go through the hoops to get to the stage. I think it starts from 2021, doesn't it? So some of this work. And I think what I can see as somebody who hasn't sat on this committee with this case before is that there's a demonstration here of officers asking for information and developer responding and actually doing it. And there's quite good timelines here that not only are they responding, but they have to still continue through the hoops, even if planning permission is granted. So I think that's really positive. You know, there's a timeline. It can't begin until it's no later than 2027, actually, to this day, the 13th of July. So there's a clear timeline that they have to operate to and get all these things done. So what I would personally, you know, is it only 4 objections? Am I read that right? Or just 4 or more? Because it says 4 or more objections received. I just wanted to check.
That's the trigger. We'll get the figure for you now.
Yeah, I was just checking that.
So there's 17 in total.
So 17 in a percentage compared to the amount of houses. I think for the local member, Mr. Hogg, is walking the park that you've got to this stage without a protest, because we have 60 odd houses in Ruthin, and that caused ruction. So I think it's a positive. So what I'm trying to conclude to is that I would like to propose this for granting, but I'd also just like to check on the design, because I think there's a loose words in that you will work with the developer, but does the local member get to sign that off as well on the end design? Because those detailed plans aren't with us today, are they?
I'll get the question answered before we take the proposal. So the design, where are we with the design, and can we involve the local member? As said?
I think there's a couple of things on that, Councillor Hilditch Roberts. The design of the properties is detailed, it is shown. We're conditioning materials, so we can work with the local member in relation to materials, certainly. I think as well, Councillor Hogg was raising maybe about the design of the area in front of Kentigern's hospice. I think that's quite an important element. So yeah, we're definitely going to commit to working with Councillor Hogg and the developer on those points. Thank you.
No, thanks, Paul, because I think again, using the example in Ruthin, the original plan, it was out of character with the area, but now they're actually built, they're within character. So I think it's really important that the local member keeps a track on that, really. So yeah, so I'd like to propose this.
Okay, Jock, thank you. Do we have a seconder? Okay, Councillor Scott.
Second, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And we'll now go to the count and the vote, please.
Great, okay, thank you, Chair. So as ever, 1 to grant in accordance with the officer recommendation, 3 to refuse, 2 to abstain. So if Rodri could clear the board for those in the chamber, please, and all vote now. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. I will now call out the names for the members on Zoom who can vote. So Councillor Blakely, please.
Grant.
Councillor Chard, please.
To grant.
Councillor Ellis, please.
Obliged.
Grant. In favour.
Gas, please.
Grant.
And Councillor Sandilands, please.
Grant.
Okay. Okay, so that is granted with officer recommendation. That's 17 for, no abstentions and none against. Jock about, thank you. Okay, I'll just let some member leave the chamber and then I'll move on to item 10.
Sorry, Chair. Have we discussed item 7?
That's
early learners.
That's at the end.
Oh, right.
Yeah, no problem. There's no public speakers on that one. That's why it's at the end. Okay, joking about. Okay, item 10, page 287, code 4720220239 PF. And the location is BODLONFA Lodge, RHYL St. ASAPH. Proposal erection of extension and alteration to dwelling. Local member is Chris Evans. Officer recommendation is to grant. I know Councillor Chris Evans isn't here today, and I believe Councillor Hilditch Roberts is going to just raise an issue.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Evans sends his apologies. He's asked if I can ask for a deferral on this agenda item because there's a feeling that there's a need for a site visit because Councillor Evans doesn't feel that the documentation is sufficient for the committee to make a decision at this time, and that a site visit would inform the committee better to make that informed decision. Yeah.
Okay, any response to that, officers?
I will have to just jump in for a procedural issue on this. Obviously, members are aware that there is an opportunity to call for a pre-planning committee site visit for planning applications. So we always try and do the site visits before the planning committee. The problem that we've got on this one, obviously, is that we don't have a planning committee in August. So this would be potentially deferred until September. The risk with that obviously is that any applicant can appeal against non-determination of a planning application if the determination period goes over an 8-week period. So that's what I just need to highlight to members, that there is a risk in deferring. That from an officer perspective, obviously we feel as though there's enough within the report and the photos to enable you to make a decision, but ultimately it's your decision as to whether you want to support the local councillor and defer for a site visit, but it would be prior to the September meeting.
I'll bring back in Councillor Hilditch Roberts, please.
Thank you. The reason, just in defence of the local member, obviously he's a virgin to the planning process, and he was informed of this quite late on in his career as a councillor. So maybe consideration can be given to that in this instance. But fundamentally, without going into detail, there are photos, 2 pictures that are held by officers that are not in this pack. And therefore, if this was to go to appeal, I think the risk to the council would be quite significant. So actually, the plea is that we're doing this in order to make sure that the right decision through the right process, informed, is made without putting the council at risk.
I just for speed, I'm just happy to go to the vote on this. So can we set the vote up, please, Rodri?
Yeah, again, just for clarity, I think if members do want to defer this item, as has been requested by the local member, if you press 1 for a deferral, if you don't want to defer and you want to carry on and debate the item, if you press 3, if you don't want to take part in that vote as normal, press 2. So 1 to defer, 3 not to defer for those in the chamber. If we could clear the board, please, and all vote now.
Okay, thanks for that. And as previously, I will call out the ones on Zoom for those who can vote. Councillor Blakely, please.
Defer.
Councillor Chard, please.
Defer.
Councillor Ellie Chard, are you there, please? You're on mute, sorry. Yeah.
I did say defer.
Okay, yeah, sorry, you
All right.
didn't hear. So defer, that's okay. Councillor Ellis, please.
Plaid.
For deferral.
Okay, Councillor Prendergast, please.
Defer.
And Councillor Sandilands, please.
Defer.
So that's been deferred. Thank you, members. Jockenbauer, thank you. Okay, members, final item, pleased to know. So I'll go on to item 7, page 143, code 452022 0226 PS. Location is Early Learners Day Nursery, 13 DYSERTH Road, RHYL. Proposal variation of condition 2 of planning permission, 4520100171 PF. To read, no more than 45 children shall be accommodated at the Children's Day Nursery at any one time. And officer's recommendation is to grant. We have local members, Councillor Diana King and Councillor Peter Pendergast, please. And I will ask if
Can I step out of meeting, Councillor Young? Okay.
Okay, thank you. Take care.
Okay, I'll say bye-bye.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Bye. Cool. Members like to come in, please. Diana or Peter.
Thank you, Chair. This application for the early learning nursery at the junction of Grosvenor Avenue and DYSERTH Road has been in place for over 40 years. Before that, it was a small grocer's shop. Restrictions on children numbers had been put in place originally due to the concern of traffic issues when it first opened. To date, there's only been one recorded accident, which actually happened out of hours when the nursery was closed. We would like to thank the officer from Mike Parker's team for taking time to monitor traffic outside the nursery. And it is worth noting that during that time, 12 individuals, children and their parents stroke guardians, walked to the nursery, and the largest number of cars at any one time was 2. We would also like to thank RHYL Town Council for showing concern at the possible increase in traffic if children numbers were granted permission. But given the history and evidence there was, hopefully there will not be any incidents or accidents outside this nursery. I therefore propose the increase of 17 children be granted by this planning committee today. Thank you.
Okay, Jocko, thank you for that. And would anyone like to second that?
Can I? Thank you, Chair.
Chair, I just wanted to make a point. I'm reading through my notes. I seem to be on the site visit representing the Conservatives and Labour group. I only represent the one. Yeah, I think the other one should be Peter Brent. Somebody else.
Okay.
Sorry, Chair.
Okay. Okay, and I'll just talk about the site visit before I go to any more questions. So there was a site visit on Friday, the 8th of July. Myself, Peter Scott, representing one group only. Okay, I don't know what the debate was that day. And local members were Peter and Diane. We had a good chat, and officers, Emma O'Connor, development manager, were there, and Mike Parker from Highways. And I'd just like to check if Diane would like to say, I think you've got your hand up, Diane King. We would like to say a few words, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yes, I also attended the site visit, and there was only 3 cars parked on the road. Some parents and most parents were walking their children, and so normal footfall for a local nursery. Didn't evidence any problems. So the nursery have their own minibus, and that's located on site. So there was no problems there either. As my fellow councillor said, the restrictions and numbers were 12 years ago, and it was precautionary. So no accidents have happened since, except the one that was outside of nursery hours. So therefore, I'd like to ask the planning committee to look favourably on giving permission to increase the number of children attending this early learning nursery. Sorry about the voice.
Okay, thank you for that. And I'm just going to bring in Peter Scott with his other hat on, because he is mentioned twice. Just any views from the site visit, please?
Not really, Chair, especially what you said, and I'd listened to what the local members have said. Yes, from my point of view, it didn't look excessive car movement, and this, as they said, a lot of people walk there. I realise that the restrictions were put in 12 years ago because there was 23 kids there, and they weren't quite certain what would happen, but nothing's happened in the meantime, and I don't think 43 is a great deal more, so I'm quite happy with the officer's recommendation to grant, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that. I'm going to bring in Councillor Harland, please.
Thanks, Mark. We're concentrating here on traffic and so on, but has the building actually been extended at any stage since its inception 40 years ago? Is it still as was 40 years ago?
Can I answer that, Chair?
Sorry, in terms of space for these children to actually be nursed or as well.
I'll just bring the local member in if I can, Peter, on that, and then I'll bring yourself in. Yeah, Councillor Pendergast.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, they've extended the first floor of the building now is proposed for the new children and the nursery. So the whole building now will be for the nursery rather than just the ground floor.
So, sorry, so it's proposed then, but not actually implemented yet?
It looks as if it's all in readiness to go ahead.
I'll bring in Paul just on that point. It's a valid point.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think the building itself has been physically extended in the past at this site. So I think it started off, as Councillor Prendergast said, as a small grocer's shop. So I think it physically there's been extensions to the building probably since the 1980s. I think the use of the site has got planning permission to be used as a day nursery, both on the ground floor and the first floor. but at the moment they don't even use in the ground floor. So this proposal would expand into the first floor of the existing building. There's not any proposal to physically extend this building now, but it has been in the past, certainly.
Okay, just on that, I'm going to bring Denise in because there's some information on that in the documents.
Yeah, just to say in the planning history, they did get planning permission for a change of use of the first floor. So it does have a lawful use to use that first floor.
Okay, Councillor Mullin-James, please.
Thank you, Chair. With respect to the councillors who were there on the day, they were there at 11 o'clock in the morning, and at 9 o'clock is the time that most children go in and out of the premises, and again at 6 o'clock in the evening when parents are picking up. Those are the times when most traffic is seen. And I have witnessed numerous little bumps there, which have not been reported because they haven't been considered serious enough to be reported. This application, I believe, is for 17 extra children on one floor, which does to me sound rather a lot just for the one floor. That's my other thing. And the other thing is, of course, we've got a new estate, Aberkinsey, which also has increased the traffic on DYSERTH Road. So I think all those things need to be taken into consideration when we're considering this application,
Okay,
please.
well, these two valid points there. Bringing highways about, I know there was an assessment and I'm guessing they were there for the time spoken about, but I'll let Mike from Highways come in now.
Yeah, when this application first came before us, I don't actually deal with them all, believe it or not. And the case officer of this is Gail McAvoy, and she's made my job very easy in this case because she's been down there at drop-off times in the morning and in the evenings and not witnessed any problems. We've not had any reported incidents or any problems over 12 years. There may be a small increase in traffic with the Aberkinsey site. I'm doing a lot of work down there. And to be honest, I never really see many cars coming out of there, to be honest. Everyone doesn't go out at once. As far as we've assessed it, there'd be no clear evidence over what we've assessed that could refuse this on highway grounds for the small increase in child numbers.
Okay, thanks for that. And then the other point is on the numbers, which I'll just get you to answer, and then I'll bring in the other councillor.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think it's correct that Councillor Wyn Mullin-James had raised those valid points really in terms of some of the concerns about highways. Obviously, Mike's answered that. I think the physical space within the building for children to be accommodated within a day nursery setting is also covered by separate guidance and separate sort of legislation in terms of the I can't remember their name now, but there is a separate agency that Care Standards Inspectorate, isn't it? That's right, yeah, for Wales. So hopefully, I think they will make sure that there's sufficient space for those additional 17.
Okay, but that's a different process to the one today.
It is.
Councillor Tomlin, please.
Thanks, Chair. Following on from that, that was part of my point. Obviously, the CSIW don't do things lightly, and they've granted the numbers, so I don't think that's up for discussion today. And I'd be very surprised if they hadn't, as part of their checks, taken into account the drop off and pick up facilities themselves as part of their review for granting these numbers, which have been granted. So unless there's anything to say to the contrary, I suspect they too have checked this out for themselves before the numbers were granted. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor James, please.
It's all right assuming that they have, but have they? They've checked them out. Have I missed something in the report? It says that there's been an inspection of the amount of children. I couldn't find it anywhere, but maybe I've missed it.
Thank you, Chair. Do you want me to?
Yeah, and I think
Thank
it is.
you.
I think it is mentioned
Is it?
in the report, but it's a valid question.
I think the important point to note is obviously that Councillor Tomlin has highlighted that there's two separate pieces of legislation here. I think the Care Standards Inspectorate will look at a building. I'm not 100% certain as to whether they would look at the highway safety aspects outside of a site. I can't hand on heart answer that, Councillor James, but I think certainly in relation to the standards within the building, it's separate legislation. They've granted that increase in numbers of children. So from their perspective, they're quite content in terms of this expansion.
Okay. And I'll just bring Denise just to clarify that question. Good point. Thank you, Denise. Talking about.
Yeah, just looking at the report in section 1.2.1 of the report, yeah, they've confirmed that they do have a licence in place for that number of children.
Okay, that's worth noting. Thanks for asking, and that's been confirmed. If there's no more questions,
can I just come back in, please?
Sorry.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I hear the comments from my fellow councillors, but we have to go on the physical evidence we have. It's not up for discussion the number of pupils, number of children, the increase of number of children. It's about safety, etc. And the traffic evidence we have, it's not there. So we have to follow the evidence we have in making our decision today. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. Are we happy? I'm going to go to the vote now. Rodri, can you start the vote? And Paul, please.
Great, thank you very much, Chair. Okay, the final one of the day, it will be 1 to grant in accordance with the officer recommendation to increase the child numbers here. So 1 to grant, 3 to refuse, 2 to abstain. If Rodri can clear the board now, please. And all vote now. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. And if you can get it ready now, Rodri, and I'll read out the names on Zoom for those who can vote. Okay. Councillor Blakely, please.
Grant.
Councillor Chard is gone, I believe. Councillor Ellis, please.
Obliged.
Grant.
And Councillor Prendergast, please.
Grant.
And Councillor Sandilands, please.
Grant.
Okay. So that's been granted along with officer recommendation, and that was 13 for and 3 against. And that's the last item on the agenda. Can I thank officers here today and also for the work on the site meetings and also members. Thank you very much.